Good morning, Chairman Stile, Ranking Member Morelli, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you here today. When I was last with you in May, we discussed the impact of federal law on the state's ability to conduct voter roll list maintenance. With the November general election rapidly approaching, today I will discuss Florida's ongoing efforts in the areas of election preparation, election observation, and contingency planning. Election administration, when done properly, is a 24/7, 365 days a year job, not only during an election year, but in off-election years as well. Since I testified before you 2 months ago, Florida is taking considerable steps to further ensure the integrity and transparency of our elections. Clean elections begin with clean voter rolls. Florida has approximately 13.5 million active registered voters. That number changes every minute of every day. A person turns 18, a person passes away, a person moves into the state, they move out of the state, a person becomes a U.S. citizen and registers to vote for the first time, a person becomes a felon, or a person has their voting rights restored. To that end, since 2022, Florida has either removed or moved to inactive status 1 million voters. The ability to promptly and accurately maintain clean voter rolls is part of the legislative reforms championed by Governor Ron DeSantis. Properly maintained voter rolls are essential to building confidence in the outcome of elections. Rulemaking allows the department to respond to issues as they arise when the legislature is not in session. For example, one new rule increases reporting requirements for voter registration agencies. Specifically, any such agency that obtains information that an individual receiving government services is not a U.S. citizen must provide that information to the Department of State to be compared against the voter roll. To ensure ballots are adjudicated uniformly the same across all 67 counties, the department has updated its polling place procedures to provide for uniform statewide operations of polling places. The procedures also include direction to supervisors of elections to ensure that spoiled ballots at polling places cannot be counted. Finally, the department updated its statewide rule on voter intent, creating a newly formatted mandatory handbook for county canvassing boards to use when making voter intent determinations during vote-by-mail canvassing and recounts. Voting system uniformity is another key to Florida's success. Some states allow local election officials to procure voting systems. We believe this is the wrong approach. In Florida, no voting system can be used in any election unless it has first been tested and certified by the state. The rigorous testing we conduct gives us the ability to eliminate problems before ballots are cast. Chain of custody of voting systems is applied to hardware and software. When voting system issues arise in other states, the department proactively contacts the vendors to determine the root of the issue and then verify that the problem cannot impact Florida's elections. While we make every effort to minimize human error in elections, Mother Nature also sometimes has a say. As it happens, the typical election season coincides with hurricane season in Florida and other coastal states. We do not move or delay elections. As such, it is imperative that we maintain robust emergency plans. Storms, fires, floods, electrical outages, blocked roads, it all happens. Florida is prepared for all contingencies. My office works closely with Florida's 67 county supervisors of elections, and if emergencies do arise, we take necessary steps to ensure that voters can vote. For example, during the 2022 election cycle, Florida had 2 severe hurricanes hit different parts of the state. Counties lost polling places, voters were displaced from their homes, infrastructure was severely diminished, and the election still went on. I visited the affected counties to survey the damage. We saw firsthand the destruction and worked with supervisors of elections in those counties to determine their needs. Governor DeSantis then issued executive orders to provide flexibility to supervisors to establish additional voting sites, expand vote-by-mail options, and amend reporting requirements. It is encouraging to see people perform their civic duty to vote despite being displaced and impacted by devastating storms. Another thing that Florida gets right is election transparency. There are no pizza boxes, and you don't need binoculars to view our elections. Every part of the process is open to the public, campaigns, and candidates. Florida election law grants access to the public to watch equipment testing, the canvassing of ballots, and signature verification, among other things. Since 2020, candidates and the parties are also entitled to reasonable access to review signatures on vote-by-mail ballots, observe ballot duplication, and make objections. We want and encourage the public to watch how their ballot becomes a vote. We allow and encourage election observation. Candidates and the parties can designate observers at each precinct, and we deploy our own team of in-house observers across the state. Our 2 newest election offices in Palm Beach and Broward counties are the national model for openness and transparency. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Florida is vigilant because we continue to strengthen and hone our election code year after year. We do not sit idle, waiting for bad things to happen in order to correct them. We cannot run the risk of becoming complacent. As I said in my previous testimony, and it bears repeating, Florida is committed to ensuring that all eligible Floridians who want to vote have the opportunity to do so. However, we are equally committed to preventing election fraud and protecting the integrity of Florida's voter rolls. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Byrd. Secretary Frank LaRose, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you so much, Chairman Stile, Ranking Member Morelli, and members of the committee. As we all have